Travis Ryder and Charlie Potter of the BamaOnline.com staff inside Coleman Coliseum. A little bit of rough weather out there this afternoon, Charlie, but opening day of 2016 spring practice, Nick Saban still had them outdoors at least to get going, and Crimson Tide in shorts and helmets. And man, a lot to take in because you got the early enrollees, you got guys that are maybe coming off surgeries or in black, non-contact status. So a lot to take in just a little bit of time. Obviously, the quarterback position where a lot of eyes were, but no real surprises there.
No, I mean, you had two lines like you always do, throwing to two different lines of receivers, and it was Cooper Bateman and David Coleman, the older guys. I mean, they're not gonna throw any surprises at you day one, especially the week off to mull things over. But no, I mean, no surprises there. I think it was the big surprises were who they were throwing it to. We saw Robert Foster out there moving pretty well in a black jersey, but he didn't seem to be limited really at all to me. They're still probably going to take their time with that shoulder injury because he could be a critical part to the passing game success, but he looked fine. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with his legs, the way he was moving, but having him out there, Cam Sims didn't appear to be limited by anything. He kind of was hobbled last year, changed numbers to 17, so a really good group of receivers they have to work with, which when you have a quarterback competition like this, having guys like them and O.J. Howard helps out a lot.
Biggest change offensively, probably the coaching staff a little bit. You saw Brent Key out there in his first practice as a member of this staff working with the guards and centers as we expected, and then Mario Cristobal over working with tackles and tight ends. So a little different look, not just in terms of a new face, but how they've gone about doing things under Nick Saban. They have never really split up the offensive line. Now, Bobby Williams used to work with the tackles and tight ends on some of the combination things that they do, but just a little bit of a, not bizarre or strange, but just different. And, we saw some new faces personnel-wise over there too, most notably a true freshman enrollee and a junior college transfer.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to step in and tackle right away, and Charles Baldwin and Jonah Williams. And I think that is something Alabama's needed. It needed last season is depth at tackle. You thought if something happened to Cam Robinson, what would happen? Just because your next guy up's either a former defensive lineman in Corin Curvin or a former tight end and Brandon Green. And that's something they really need. And with Cam looking like he was a little bit limited in a black jersey, it's going to give those guys plenty of opportunity to see time on both sides of the line. And I think having a guy like Mario Cristobal really be able to focus in on them is going to help them in their development.
Yeah, and depending on Cam Robinson's availability, Lester Cotton may get a ton of left tackle reps because he was with the tackles, at least what I saw out there today. We've kind of wondered, and I still think it's a possibility. It's a guy who could play tackle, guard, but depending on how much they can get out of Robinson this spring, could be a busy spring for Lester Cotton. As far as those interior spots, about what you would think in terms of competition, Shank Taylor looked like he was still at right guard, Pierce Baker at left guard, J.C. Hassenauer blending in there at center, but it was kind of a hodgepodge. It was really hard to get a feel for, but just the numbers they have is what kind of stands out to you. They have options.
Yeah, I mean, being Brent Key, your eyes have to light up when you walk into that room, seeing how many.
Bradley Bozeman.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas Womack can play really well.
Yeah.
Lester Cotton can move inside too.
It's crazy.
The wealth that he has to work with is pretty remarkable. And as you said, there were times it looked like maybe Pierce Walker was working at center. You have no idea what he's doing. A new guy, how he does things. So kind of pump the brakes after that first day to see what's going on in that regard.
Yeah, it was standard drill work. It wasn't a lot to take away from that. As far as the tight end position, O.J. Howard obviously back. We did see Brandon Green with the tight ends over there this afternoon, so not a lot of radical changes there, I would say. Nothing of particular note. Defensively, we want to flip over there real quick. Running back, we thought we'd see Bo Scarborough, Damian Harris. That's what we saw now. Defensively, I think the linebacker spot was pretty interesting, seeing Rashaan Evans with those inside linebackers. Not a shocking development, but still interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, inside's still a pretty thin position, and we saw it in the championship game, trying to spy on a guy like Deshaun Watson. Rashaan Evans succeeded and excelled at that role. So I think trying that out, especially the spring where you see most of your experiments, is something Alabama wanted to do, and they've started out from day one doing. They have capable guys behind Reuben Foster and Sean Dion Hamilton and Keith Holcomb, even Adonis Thomas. But having that depth there, I think, helps in the competition as well. So I don't know how long they'll stay there. I mean, You never know; it could be a permanent move. But I think he'll kind of have that Dylan.
I want to
Lee.
see if he's more than a dime guy.
Yeah.
That's what he was last year. I mean, he didn't just do it in the national championship game. They used him in that role against Arkansas and other teams. But I want to see if it's really real, he'll be there in base and nickel and dime. But he is versatile, like you were, I think, getting ready to say. Dylan Lee is a good
He's going to be that guy that you have to watch for utility backer, see where he's at. Outside, inside, he could change every day. So.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. Outside linebackers, well, sticking with the inside linebackers, interesting to see Keith Holcomb out there. That guy might be hitting the leadoff by the time we're done with this.
About, what, hour and a half?
But life of a two-sport athlete, pretty sweet if you ask me. But he was out there working with those guys. You know, Reuben Foster, Sean Deion Hamilton, about what we expected up front. Outside linebackers, about what you'd expect there too.
Yeah, I think one thing that stood out to me is you obviously see Ron Anderson, Tim Williams at the front of the line, and Christian Miller, stepping in where Sean Evans left off, and Fernie Jennings, seems to be stepping up, and you kind of hear
He's
a little bit.
He's a good-looking athlete.
You hear a little bit of a murmur about him, just what he can do. They move to the tight end. You see his versatility, so I think he could be a guy to watch this spring.
Yeah, he is physically very impressive. He's a guy that I think, if you don't really try to keep him under 250, 260, he's got a body type that could go to 275, 280. I mean, there's a number of different ways you could use that guy, but an impressive looking athlete, to say the least. What about the secondary? Anything kind of stand out to you there?
Two things was Tony Brown being at safety. That's something that you kind of thought would go into, and I think it's going to be kind of like the Rashawn Evans deal where he can move back and forth, just because you have to factor in that Eddie Jackson's probably going to be there, but with him being on a stationary bike to start spring practice, you move Tony over. You have to think the two starting safeties in their mind in a perfect world are going to be Eddie and Ronnie Harrison, but getting reps there for Tony is nothing new.
They need a third safety.
Exactly. And the younger guys haven't necessarily stepped up. You have guys like Deontay Thompson and Sean Burgess-Becker who could do that, but adds competition there. And then another thing is it looked like Marlon Humphrey was healthy. And we saw him on crutches at the National Championship Parade, and that's going to be key moving forward just because how many young guys you have. They're talented, but Marlon brings a little bit of consistency there.
Minka Fitzpatrick working alongside him in drill work today with Marlon Humphrey, but Kendall Sheffield in that mix, Maurice Smith. Need a third corner too. Got to sort that out this spring or into fall camp, and kind of like the offensive line, there's pieces there. It's just figuring it out. And with Tony Brown, I think he'd be ideal in sort of a hybrid role, or where you move him around. He plays some star, he can play some dime, probably whatever, but can you trust the guy?
That's true.
I mean, that's what Tony Brown's got to establish between now and the end of August.
And then we don't know what he's going to be able to do. There's these suspensions that Saban mentioned at the Senior Bowl, so when does that happen? He's out there today, so does that mean he's not going to play an 8A? Who knows?
From an injury standpoint, about what you would expect. This is a time of year guys get stuff cleaned up. I mean, it's not shocking to see a number of guys outside of quarterbacks in black non-contact jerseys, and that's what we saw today. Eddie Jackson, you mentioned, looks like he's limited. Dakota Ball, the tight end, appears to be limited a little bit. Sean Jennings, I think the true freshman mid-year guy, was one of those guys, and maybe was it Raheem Falcons? Yeah.
He was back in a boot, and then another guy, Jonathan Allen, was in black.
Yeah.
He and Cam were both doing drills, but they're just kind of, once you get more physical in the drills, they kind of linger back, and that's to be expected. He was dealing with a shoulder problem all year. I think he had his arm in a sling at the national championship parade last time we saw him. So precautionary, normal spring things, nothing to really be worried about. He's out there on the field. It's not like he was tucked away somewhere. So. And
I'd rather be on the field than with Cochran.
Yeah, I would be too.
I really would. It didn't look like those guys were having a ton of fun. I don't think they ever really do, and I think Cochran tries to make it fun, but I don't think it's probably a lot of fun over there. So one practice, spring break, and back in a week, I guess.
Yeah, well, 10 days. Or so.
Where are you going? You going to Kuwait or somewhere?
I'm probably just going to stay here and try to get as much sleep as possible before the spring. I'll go into hibernation.
You're going to hitchhike Europe, with $1,000 cash?
Nah.
Ride trains? All right, well, we'll let you get going, Charlie. I know it's going to be a busy time when we get back and a lot to talk about. So keep it right here on BamaOnline.com. Still got a lot of baseball, still got softball, still got some hoops tonight against Kentucky. Formidable task, but who knows? We'll see what this team's capable of up in Nashville. So plenty going on. Charlie will have you covered. We'll talk about it a lot on the website, BamaOnline.com. For Charlie, I'm Travis. Talk to you again real soon.